You've said many times, even last year, that good teams outscore their mistakes. And it seems like maybe you're starting to be a team like that, possibly, especially in the last couple of games where, you've been able to. Do you see that in your team? That maybe you're starting to become that team?
Yeah, that's a luxury for teams. I mean, the high skill teams in this league do that. I can recall last year we had 3 breakaways against Tampa Bay for ourselves in the first period. We didn't score on any against Vasilevsky. And at the end of the period, we were down. And I mentioned to you guys, I don't think Tampa Bay was in the locker room after the first period saying, we can't let a breakaway, we can't let them have a breakaway. They were 3 for 3 and making saves. So and again, I don't know that I've ever heard a coaching staff or fan base say we're scared of them because they defend well. On the flip side, it's significant when another team can score. That scares you, and that puts some fear factor in it. So, the hope for us is that we're building toward that we can score goals, and to this point we've done a nice job, and by no means are we content or satisfied with that. It's still toward the middle of an NHL season, and it's still a progression. So every team's going to keep getting better, and we need to do the same.
Don, when you look at a college team's schedule, they play Friday, Saturday most of the time every week. You're playing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 3 weeks in a row. I mean, what does that do in terms of the luxury of planning and different things that you might not ordinarily have, knowing that 3 weeks in a row you have exactly the same schedule?
I like the fact, if we're going to play 4 games a week, to have it in a set where you can get into a rhythm. So, as you mentioned, each Monday, Tuesday for the next 3 weeks, Thursday, and then Saturday. So, with that, and I also, we talked about a few days ago, minimizing practice time, emphasizing games. We're going to have to do that, or emphasizing, I should say, how do we maximize energy? So many games are won and lost in this league based on energy level from one team compared to its competitor, the other team. We know the back-to-backs are challenging for teams. Travel's challenging. Injuries are extremely challenging. So energy is a major component to execution in any job that demands skill. And ours being hockey at the highest level, it is just that. So we'll do a lot more substitute video work for practice time. And we took a day off yesterday for that reason, because we played the night before, and the guys just are going on a pregame skate today.
You hadn't given up 4 goals in a game since actually a month ago, December 9th.
Oh, Paul.
But now you have.
Paul.
The last 2 games, you've given up 9.
Yes.
Are you just making more errors, more mistakes right now in those 2 games that the puck's starting to go in?
I thought Minnesota played exceptionally well with exceptional intent the other night. That was a tough game and a tough team that was dialed in. I don't know, you might be able to extract that from their coach's comments pregame, or their anybody else pregame, but they were ready to play. That was a hard game, and I love the way our guys battled through. They have some serious talent over there. Boldy, and I was with Boldy in men's world championships 4 or 5 months ago, whatever it was, 6 months ago. Kaprizov, Hartman was over at World Champ. They had some serious talent, and they took advantage of some mistakes. But I don't want to put too much in game to game. There's so much fluctuation with, like I said, of energy, emotions, and whatever. You can't let things bother you. You can't dwell on things. I think we're learning not to do that. You got to focus on what you can do, knowing that it's not going to be perfect. You can't try to play a perfect game. My approach. No one's going to get better playing conservative. I think we get up and go. We're going to learn to even mistakes we made the other night. We can show a couple things, and it'll make our team better in the long run.
From your view, what do you think has allowed Tyson Jost to make such a seamless transition to a new team? Didn't have training camp with you guys, different systems, but he stepped in. He's been, a pretty important player for you.
Yeah, he's smart. He has some experience, and he competes. So those are just some of several attributes that and he's hungry. I mean, he wants to. He sees this as a valuable opportunity for him to stay here, to make an impression and be part of this team and this organization. And he has enough hindsight now through his career with several hundred games or a few hundred games, the experience of hindsight to know how to do that. So he's been a great addition. He just brings. He has a lot of youth because I believe he's only 24 years old, and I think he was picked 10th overall. So the skills there. For him, through his career, the position he's been in, he's been forced to play to not make a mistake, and it's conservative. And we're trying to push him out of that, and I think he's enjoying that. And we're seeing growth in him day by day.
Many thousand games early in the year was kind of part of rotation, but now he's sitting regularly. Just how is he? I guess how is he just handled? Having to watch for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, any guy that sits out as long as Aspie and Vinny, it's a tough situation. There's nothing worse as a coach, for me personally, than to sit a guy that is a competitor and works, and he's a good teammate, and both those guys are. So it's not fun to do that, but you only have 20 roster spots, and it's so for Vinny, I know he's competitively not happy, he's not satisfied being out of the lineup, and it's a challenge to keep yourself ready to go. But when you look at the big picture of an NHL season, what players in that position have to do is be ready for their opportunity, because the opportunity is going to come. We just can't tell you exactly when, which game, which night, but in an 82-game season, it's going to come. So until that happens, it's a tough situation, I think, for specifically for him or a player in that situation. But you have 23 men on your roster, 20 play, and to this point, our guys have had some chemistry we wanted to develop. Instead of altering guys in and out of the lineup, I thought that was fine early in the year, but now that we hit a rhythm, I don't want guys fearing that they're coming in or out in bulk, if that makes sense, because I believe that could break up the rhythm that we feel we could get to dating back a few weeks ago. Sometimes when you start rotating, or when you rotate roster, now you're dealing with the psychology of 4 or 6 guys because there's a rotation. Unfortunately, now those 2 forwards have known that it's them 2, which means the other group can stay focused on game to game.
When you looked at that goal that potentially could have been offside, in your decision, first of all, was it not offside? I don't know. Maybe you saw it better than I did. And if not, was it just too close to do it?
Yeah, unfortunate in that situation for us, being on that side, that whether that's offside or not is subjective. You look at all the video, and the fact that the referees and linesmen stand there for 3 to 5 minutes means it's subjective. They're trying to make a decision based on, and you can only base your decision on the technology you have and the plane. So our video guys are trying to look at it as quick as they can to give us the information. We can see one angle from the bench. So if I see on that one angle, and I'm 100% confident that's all I need, I'll make the call right there. If it's not definitive in the angle I have, they're combing through what they have, which might not be even what you see on TV, believe it or not, in some buildings, in some situations. But for the other day, we felt the plane of the skate was still in an onside position, and could be, when you went frame to frame, a subjective call against us. And I just felt we were confident enough in that game, and it was a little earlier in that game that we felt we weren't going to win that as a challenge based on the information we had.
What's the prep like for John Tortorella team that's kind of gone through the motions, but they've sort of kind of found their way a little bit?
Yeah, it's find it interesting you say a John Tortorella team and going through the motions, because I don't see it that way at all in that sense. I think when I think of their coach, their players will be going hard. There's no question in my mind that that'll be the case. It's a reputation. I've watched it too often, too much. So we need to be ready. They play with some pace. They play hard, and they're a very, very capable team. They've won some big games against opponents that I'm sure you can find opponents on that schedule that we haven't beaten that they have. So anytime you play an NHL game, you better be ready to play. And tonight that is the case because they are a very capable team.
Don, when you think about players who are dangerous entering the offensive zone with zone entries, what characteristics stand out about forwards who are really good in that area?
Intelligence, ability to read what pressure there was coming at them from the defensemen, from back checking pressure, obviously keeping track of their options, and options meaning in numbers and options in speed. And is there any time and space to create, to delay? So if I've got skilled players running through my head, those are things they're doing. They're calculating and taking in an awful lot of how much time and space they have to work. Can they create more time and space? And then what assets do they have coming at what ratios of speed? Because if you think when you enter a zone, puck carrier, if he delays at all, the first attacking player is now on sides. He can push depth and start forcing coverage areas upon that depth. So 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers. And if I think of the best players, they can manipulate upon entry to force more coverage options. But it's very intricate, believe it or not, on entries.
How big of a learning curve, I guess, is that as guys jump up levels? Because it can be such a puck possession game in the NHL compared to lower levels guys.
Yeah, it's a significant area of learning for players entering the NHL is just simply entering the zone, because you think about it, most players that enter the NHL are drafted, they're high skill, and their discrepancy of skill over their competitor before they got to the NHL is why they got drafted or signed. They were just more skilled than players they're beating, because all the players, 80% or 90% of the players they're playing against before they get to the NHL aren't going to play in the NHL. 10% are. So they're taking advantage of 90% of the people that aren't, or players that aren't playing in the NHL, because of a discrepancy in skill. When you get to the NHL, there's not a discrepancy in skill. It's down to like 2 or 3%. So you have to substitute or offset that with game knowledge, situational awareness, and lots of other details beyond that. But that's the challenge as players enter a league.
Is that more important in the NHL today than maybe 15, 20 years ago? When maybe teams are playing more dump and chase and stuff.
Yeah, I think importance, I think when you say importance, I think of significance. It's more significant. You have younger players on bigger contracts and younger players and more younger players entering the league that you want to get to the point of impact. They're impacting outcome in a positive way. They're helping you win. So with more flux and more roster change and more youth coming in, there's more coaching, and that becomes more a part of it. Yes. I mean, if you go back 25 years and look at the number of 30-year-old players in the league compared to that now, and 30-year-old players obviously gain wisdom of being in the league over time, yeah, it's dramatically different today. So you're doing a lot more coaching, staffs are bigger, and there's more development staff within NHL teams, and that development staff used to be not with the NHL team. Now it's would be with your prospects, watching them and working with them until they got to the NHL. Now those staffs are integrated within the NHL team more and more every year now. Thanks, guys.